Hey guys, want to support us? You can support us at patreon.com/BattleGeekPlus because every dollar helps us bring you a better show.
Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Josh.
And the game we're talking about today is The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening for the Game Boy.
Yeah.
Alright, so Josh, what was your reaction to Zelda being on the Game Boy?
Well, I was super excited for it, simply for the fact that I had played Zelda on Nintendo.
Yeah.
I mean, I owned the first two on Nintendo. The Super Nintendo one, I didn't have a Super Nintendo,
Right.
but I had played a little bit of Link to the Past on Super Nintendo. So when I saw like the Nintendo Power preview for, Link's Awakening and everything, by that point I had a Game Boy and this looked amazing in comparison to, the first Zelda. And it was actually something I'd be able to get because I had the handheld for it. So I pretty much was just super stoked, and my best friend during elementary school, he was super stoked. He had his Game Boy also, and we were just all about that game for months.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually did have a Game Boy when this game came out, but the problem is my Game Boy was broken, half the screen wouldn't show, so if I would play Tetris, you would only see risks on the title screen. And so, actually, I do admit the Game Boy was a whole generation of games that I missed out on, so I didn't really pay too much attention to Zelda on the Game Boy. I mean, it looked great in the magazines, and I wanted to play it, but it was I'll probably play it a couple of years down the line, and eventually I did. I actually did play it in 1998 at my dentist's office. My dentist had a couple of Game Boys there with Zelda, and I played it, and then I came back a couple of weeks later, the Game Boy was gone. And she was like, oh, sorry, some other kids stole it. So I couldn't play Zelda until I bought it on the Nintendo 3DS years later.
Oh, wow. So you're someone who, pretty recently played it.
Yeah, kind of recently.
Where, in contrast, I was like a launch baby with that thing. That was I got that when it happened, and I was there for the experience before it was even DX in color and all that stuff. This is original brick Game Boy, monochrome. I'm holding it like the Game Boy is like a giant sandwich or something,
Yeah, I actually remember I beat the game at your house on New Year's Day or something.
Well, that was the first time you beat it?
Yeah, that was the first time I beat it.
Holy
crap. So, that was 2014 or 13?
Yeah, I've probably beaten that game so many times over the years. I mean, there was a good chunk of time where I didn't play it for a long time, and I did probably around the same time that you were playing it for the first time. I was going back through it all over again and actually playing the DX special color dungeons for the first time, which I think I went with red. But yeah, anyway,
I think I went with blue.
Well, makes sense.
Yeah, so what was your first reaction to actually playing the game?
I mean, it was kind of weird first waking up, not having a sword and all that stuff, and not just being able to directly go and be all oh, here's the sword, I'm going to start killing things now. Because while I played a little bit of Link to the Past, I didn't play it the very beginning of the game where you have to run around and come across your uncle and then get the sword and shield. So that was a little interesting. But overall, like I said, it was a huge step up from the first Zelda, and it was one of the games that at the time, a lot of Game Boy games, all Game Boy games, they were scaled down versions of their console counterparts.
Yeah.
But this one actually felt close to its console counterpart. I felt like I was actually playing a portable version, not just something so toned down that it's just not even worth it.
Right, yeah. I remember when I first started playing this, I was really blown away that you can move in 8 directions on the Game Boy.
That didn't even really occur to me that that was a special thing. It was, that was just, I just started doing it.
Yeah, you remember in the first Zelda, the gameplay is great, but it's a bit clunky at times.
Yeah, because you can only go...
in only 4 directions, but you can go in 8 directions. The response, the controller response is so good in this game. I think that's what really stood out for me the most when playing this. It was like I was playing a portable version of A Link to the Past.
Yeah, well, that's what it was originally supposed to be.
Yeah.
When it was being developed, they were just at Nintendo, they were just doing this little goofy side project where they were trying to port Link to the Past to the Game Boy, and then it eventually just turned into its own project, whether it was due to technical limitations or whatever, and that's how we got this game.
Right, yeah. And also, what I did feel about the world map structure, it felt a lot more blocked off. Like you couldn't explore areas like right at the start of the game. Like you had to get this one item to get to this one other place. Like it felt kind of restricted in a way. Did you feel that way?
I didn't feel that way at the time because I was just so engrossed in what was going on that I mean I can see it now the way you're asking about everything and explaining it. I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally see what you're talking about. But at the time, like it did not feel blocked off to me at all. It felt, you know, vibrant and alive, and I don't want to say colorful because it was on the Game Boy.
Yeah.
But you know, it was one of those games where it was way more open than anything else I had on the Game Boy. Maybe not necessarily compared to like the first Zelda where you could just go wherever the hell you wanted, but it was definitely more like exploratory than say Kirby's Dream Land, which was my first Game Boy game.
Yeah, and it is actually pretty cool that there is a Chain Chomp in this game from Mario, like Bow Wow the Chain Chomp. You remember Bow Wow?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of little cameos from different games and whatnot that popped into this one. There was like little Spike Guys and Chain Chomp, and there's another one we'll talk about later. But yeah, Chain Chomp, he was. I remember when I first saw him, because he's supposed to be an enemy, you know. Yeah. He was actually sort of scary, and until you got him.
Yeah, I remember.
And then you know, after you rescue him and you got him, and it was just amazing. It was just amazing having him around. So because you just walk along and he just eat enemies, and you know, there's actually like ways you can actually glitch the game now to keep Chain Chomp throughout your entire like speed run. Or
yeah, that's awesome.
So it definitely like look those up on YouTube or Twitch or whatever.
Yeah, and I actually really enjoyed the item variety in this game. Like you got the Pegasus boots, you got the boomerangs and the bow and arrows, but there's like this boot that lets Link jump.
It was actually a feather.
Oh, feather,
the Rock's feather.
Okay, yeah.
That was the first item you got in the game. And it was specifically so that you could jump over gaps and stuff like that, both overhead and in like the little areas where you're, you know, like the basement areas where you're side scrolling.
Yeah, side scrolling.
And you could just jump. There wasn't like jumping like what they implemented in Ocarina of Time, where it was just kind of automatic at different little gaps and stuff. Like this was like you just jump and do whatever, and it was pretty rad.
Yeah, press A to jump.
Like there was even like floating hearts and stuff you could jump and get, you know, for your life and everything.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty unique mechanic of the game.
I remember last summer with Breath of the Wild, when footage for that started coming out, someone put like, for the first time ever, you know, random mute village boy can finally jump after, you know, 20-something years. I'm all like, you forgot Link to the Past, you motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, not Link to the Past, but Link's Awakening. Like, no, you forgot Link's Awakening, motherfucker, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the item variety was pretty cool. The other thing that was pretty cool about it was the fact that your A and B, like, you didn't have, like, sword was A all the time.
Oh yeah.
Like you could actually switch out items and whatnot. You didn't even have to use the sword if you didn't want to. You could put like you know, like the fire rod and the shield or the Rock's feather or the Pegasus boots or whatever, and just switch them out however you want to like suit your own play style. And that's something that was extremely just unheard of at the time, and still even today, like you can't do that anymore because there's so many buttons on the controller that, you know, the sword's always mapped to something in like modern Zelda games now. But
yeah, like we only had like 2 buttons basically.
Yeah, but 2 buttons that could just do everything. Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so like the dungeons. I remember the dungeons of this game, like they're on the same par as, you know, like the first game and also A Link to the Past. I do remember there was a dungeon in Link's Awakening that's a lot like Turtle Rock at the, you know, like kind of closer to the end of Link to the Past.
Oh yeah. There was Turtle Rock there. There was also there was also like the giant like caterpillar boss thing like that. It was kind of like an easier version of him in like the first level of Link's Awakening. There was a lot of, like I said, it started out as trying to be A Link to the Past. Yeah. Like the map is even like sort of similar with like the big castle in the middle and all that stuff. But you know, it just kind of evolved into its own thing over time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, but yeah, those dungeons, they were pretty cool. I remember having trouble getting through level 8 as a kid.
Oh really?
And my best friend at the time, who I mentioned earlier, you know, as a kid, like he actually had to help me through it. Like he was a couple years older than me and he was better at games and everything. And so he actually had to help me through that. But since then I've defeated it on my own.
Sweet.
But yeah, but yeah, those dungeons were definitely a lot more complicated than, say, original Zelda, which is what I jumped from to, you know, to Link's Awakening, so that's probably might have been why I had some trouble.
Yeah, like I also remember, like you mentioned before, those basement parts where you're actually like side-scrolling.
Yeah.
Like 2D side-scrolling, and like those Goombas down in the dungeons.
Yeah.
Like
So we were talking about,
cameos.
cameos and everything. Yeah, the Goombas were down there. Like, I thought that was like a really neat little touch. They had Goombas and they had, the chain chomp and all that stuff.
Yeah, you can actually kill the Goombas with your sword.
You kill them with your sword, or you could jump on them and squish them like you're in Mario. And that's not something you would see again until Mario Maker, when they started like releasing like the different skins for Mario and whatnot, including like the Link skin.
And now, like, what was your reaction kind of closer to the end of the game when you realized this was not a real world? This was a dream world. We had to wake up the Windfish to get out of the dream world.
I was really invested in the world and the characters at this point. When they dropped that, like, partway through the game, you go in that little 2-room sort of thing and you read that thing and it's all like the world is a dream and all this stuff, and when you wake up the Windfish, the people and the island and everything are going to disappear forever, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, I legitimately felt sad about that. I felt emotional towards that. And
I did too.
Yeah, and I played it pretty recently, like 2013 or so, and I still felt really emotional towards it.
I mean, like, I wasn't really as like moved by it like this last time around, as I've played it so many times, but that I still remember when I read that, the feeling I had the first time that I read that and was just kind of like, holy crap, like, do I actually want to like complete this thing and leave? Like, I'm totally like effectively just destroying the lives and civilization of this whole island of people just so I can leave. Like, I felt kind of selfish.
Yeah, I know.
So...
Yeah, so like the final boss, I actually admit as a kid I was thinking, I think Ganon's gonna appear as the final boss, but this did not have Ganon in it.
No, it had like the Nightmare dude, and he did take the form of Agnem, and he did take the form of Ganon.
Yeah, that was a good throwback.
Throughout the fight and everything, which, considering it's supposed to be like a dream thing and all that stuff, like the idea of like some of these bosses Link's fighting and then Nightmare actually being like stuff Link's run into before and everything, like maybe they're like projections of like Link's own experiences or something, like that was pretty cool. That dungeon, even though it was the simplest one because it was just a little randomly generated maze that once you knew the thing, you just did that, like that dungeon was kind of actually sort of, I don't want to say the creepiest, but that was like the one where it's like, oh, this is where it's going down, and then you jump in there, and that boss wasn't insanely difficult.
Yeah, I remember it wasn't too difficult.
But it was definitely like kind of a challenge and worth it, and it felt good beating that boss and finally getting through and going up that staircase and everything.
Yeah, I remember the staircase.
It was pretty rad.
And you did play the extra DX content, right?
Yeah, the DX content, I played that when I got the 3DS port of it.
Yeah, maybe
on the eShop. That's when I did that for the first time. I played the color dungeons, and I saw like the new version of what happens when you beat the game with like no deaths and all that stuff.
Right.
I assume, and you said that was the version that you beat, right?
Yeah, that was the only version I've beaten.
Okay, and did you play the original, like on the original Game Boy, like at the dentist's office, or did you?
Yeah, that was the one I played.
So you've got like a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah.
You said you went with blue?
Yeah, I went with blue.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I went with red. I think I was getting like the defense acorns more often anyway.
Right.
So I was just like, well, I'm gonna bump up my offense then, since I don't get those pieces of power so often. So what did you like most about the DX content? I mean, like, did you like the camera stuff? Like, I didn't really do any of the camera stuff, or was it like the color that you liked the most, or like what was it that compared to the original one that you played a little bit? Like, was there anything that really stood out to you?
Well, I obviously like the color, obviously, and I also got the longer ending, I think.
The one where the one that shows like Marin at the end and all that stuff, Yeah. There was they did something similar to that in the original one also, but like it was like her sprite like
oh really? Okay. Like you see her actual face in it.
Yeah, but like this one, like you actually get like some art for it, like you do like with Link, like when he wakes up and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was something that they kind of redid and made better, and that was pretty rad.
Yeah, so Zelda Link's Awakening on Game Boy, like I was kind of concerned that a Zelda game without Zelda or Ganon or the Triforce even was, wasn't going to be good as the originals, but this was a really, really, really good game. Like one of the best in the series I've played.
I think, yeah, it was my favorite, Until years later when I got to finally like really sit down and enjoy Link to the Past.
Right, yeah.
And then that one became, and still is, my absolute favorite. Out of all the Zelda games, maybe that one, pretty much all the Link to the Past style ones are my favorite ones.
Yeah.
Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Link Between Worlds. You know, of course you gotta throw a bone for Ocarina, and Wind Waker and stuff like that. Like, those are cool too. But those are probably my top three. I was hyped from the beginning. I had no worries. This looked amazing. It looked better than anything else that had ever come out on Game Boy. Like, I'm looking at like Super Mario Land, Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
There's like, I had no worries whatsoever that this was gonna be some like crappy, impossible to beat, version of Zelda or anything like that. So, and I'm glad that, that turned out to be right, because that was probably my favorite portable Zelda. Like, all the other portable Zeldas out there, yeah, I played them and everything, but like, this is like the one.
Right, yeah, like, it actually makes me like regret not playing it in the past, because it is a fantastic game and I had a blast playing it.
Well, at least you finally did get to play through it and see how awesome of a game it was, and have me on Awesome Video Game Memories to talk with you about it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because, well, it really wouldn't be Awesome Video Game Memories if you weren't here.
Right, yeah. I don't have the childhood nostalgia towards this game like you do, but yeah, it is a fantastic game. And if I did play it as a kid, yeah, I would definitely probably say a lot of the same things that you did.
Well, you would be right.
Yeah. Well, anyways, you can get this game on the Virtual Console on the 3DS and the new 3DS. And yes, and that wraps up our episode of Awesome Video Game Memories about Zelda Link's Awakening on the Game Boy. And if you have any memories about this game, make sure to leave those in the comments below. I'm Ryan.
And I'm in pajama pants.
Take care.
Hey guys, want to see us play games? Check us out at twitch.tv/BattleGeekPlus.